It was 2:13 in the morning when Daniel was driving alone through the Nevada desert. The highway was completely empty. No cars, no lights, just darkness stretching for miles. The only sound inside the car was the low hum of the engine and the quiet voice of his GPS. Daniel had driven this highway many times before. He knew every turn, every exit, every sign along the road. But that night, something strange happened. Suddenly, the GPS spoke. "Turn right in 500 feet." Daniel frowned. That didn't make any sense. There had never been a road there before. He slowed down and looked to the right side of the highway. And that's when he saw it. A narrow road disappearing into the darkness of the desert. The asphalt looked old and cracked, like it had been forgotten for years. For a moment, Daniel thought about ignoring it and continuing straight, but the GPS repeated the instruction again. Turn right in 500 feet. Curiosity slowly replaced his hesitation. After a few seconds, Daniel turned the steering wheel. The car left the highway and entered the strange road. Dust rose behind the headlights as the car rolled forward. The desert around him became even quieter. There were no road signs, no street lights, no other vehicles. It felt like he had entered a place where no one had driven for a very long time. Minutes passed as Daniel continued driving deeper into the darkness. Then, suddenly, something appeared ahead. Lights. Small glowing lights in the distance. Daniel slowed down. In the middle of the empty desert stood a small town. Old wooden buildings lined both sides of the road. A gas station stood near the corner, and at the end of the street was a small roadside diner. Every building had its lights on, but something didn't make sense. The town was completely silent. No people walking outside, no cars parked in the streets, no sound at all. Daniel parked his car and stepped outside. Cold desert wind moved slowly through the empty street. He looked around carefully. It felt like the town had been abandoned, but only moments ago. Drawn by curiosity, Daniel walked toward the diner. The neon sign above the entrance flickered softly. He pushed the door open. Inside, the diner looked perfectly normal. Coffee cups sat on the tables, plates were left on the counter. It looked like customers had just finished eating and left. But something didn't make sense. A thick layer of dust covered the floor, and there were no footprints, not a single one. Daniel slowly walked deeper inside the diner. Then he noticed something hanging on the wall, a photograph. It was an old black and white photo of the same town, but in the photo, the streets were full of people. Families were smiling, children were playing, cars were parked outside the buildings. At the bottom of the photograph was a date, May 18th, 1974. Daniel leaned closer to examine the photo, and then his heart nearly stopped. One of the people in the photograph looked exactly like him. Same face, same eyes, same expression. It was impossible. Daniel stepped back in shock. Suddenly, he heard something behind him. Footsteps. Slow, quiet footsteps. He turned around quickly, but the diner was empty. No one was there. A cold chill ran down his spine. Daniel rushed outside. The entire town suddenly felt different. The lights flickered. The wind grew stronger. Something felt terribly wrong. He ran to his car and jumped inside. Without wasting another second, he drove away from the town as fast as he could. But after a few minutes, Daniel realized something terrifying. The road he had used to enter the town was gone. There was nothing but empty desert around him. No town, no road, nothing. Panic started to rise. Daniel kept driving through the darkness, hoping to find the highway again. For what felt like hours, the desert stretched endlessly around him. Finally, in the distance, he saw a familiar road sign, Highway 95, Las Vegas, 120 miles. Relief washed over him. He had made it back to the highway. The strange road was nowhere to be seen. The next morning, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen, so he started searching online. After hours of searching, he found something disturbing. An old newspaper article from 1974. It talked about a small desert town that mysteriously disappeared overnight. Every single resident vanished without a trace. The town was eventually abandoned and later removed from all official maps. But that wasn't the strangest part. Daniel opened the photograph from the article again. This time he looked closer. Behind the people in the photo, standing near the entrance of the diner, was a man holding a camera. Daniel froze, because the man holding the camera looked exactly like him. After that night, Daniel never drove through the Nevada desert again. But sometimes, late at night, his GPS still turns on by itself, and a quiet voice says the same words, "Turn right in 500 feet." And the strangest part? That road still doesn't exist on any map.